Very strange. Hopefully after the fact I can just combine this with the first one. Because...
Okay. We're up. Good.
I don't know what the hell that was, but it is what it is.
Where did we leave off?
I was talking about adult Beverly. And how it's,
Ooh.
it's strange. The scene where she's introduced is just...
I don't particularly like it, but get into it.
I don't like the scene where she is introduced either, because the implication must be that he's been abusive for a long time, because he says that he thinks that she was cheating at some point, but...
Yeah, because I think like he mentioned other friend, or I think he actually mentions a name, and she's like, I didn't cheat on you then. But I don't like this particular thing, because, well, obviously, in the first movie, they very much show that her dad was abusive to her, and unfortunately more than just one way. But in this is me giving, like, I guess, props to the old one versus the new one. And the old one, they give her a job, they give her a personality, not just someone that's married to somebody very famous. Because when she tells to Bill, oh, I'm married to so and so, he's like, oh man, that's so great for you, that's awesome. In the original, she works in fashion, so she does little things here and there, and obviously the husband is abusive and stuff. But the reason that I guess he has a bit more leverage towards being abusive and thinking, oh, you wouldn't be anything without me, is because she essentially kind of works for him or with him.
I don't know how to describe how hilarious it is. Molly Gordon just donated $5, and I love her for it, but it didn't pop up, and I'm confused as to why.
Maybe this is strictly PayPal?
I don't know if they're watching now or if they're watching like a stream where I was like asking for a donation or something, but I appreciate them. And look, all I want to say is the reason that the scene doesn't work for me, and I apologize for being a little long-winded and not concise in my declaration of it, is imagine you're watching a movie and it goes to a scene of a woman who gets a call from some old friends and she needs to go somewhere. All of a sudden the dude is like, who is that? And you're just like, oh, it's some old friends, I really need to go. And he's like, it's okay, I trust you. And then she goes, yeah, okay. And then he's like, but why do you lie to me? And then she's like, what? He's like, I heard what you said, and you said Mike. I thought you said you were going to see some old friends. Ah! And then he's just like grabbing her and like shaking her, all kind of bullshit like this. And he's just like, I'm going. And she like takes off her ring, as if like this is like the first time this has happened or something. Or maybe this is like the final straw. It was just so paper thin.
It was more of a, and now I'm done with you.
True.
As me leaving this.
And this is hilarious. Like, guys, this is just me getting, what I disliked about the film off my back, because it was overall great and I liked it. What else do you?
Okay, this is something that obviously kind of works in the old one. Again, props to the old one in this specific, with this specific character, is that in the original, when they're kids, they portray her as like she has a little bit of smarts here and there. She can be like a tough cookie, but overall she's very soft, very sweet, and very timid. Like she can't stand up for herself. It's not until they confront it when they're kids that she's like, oh, I can do it and stuff. But in the new version, you don't get that impression from young Bev. If anything, you kind of stated she knows how to move herself around, how to portray herself in order to get things. She's tough.
That's something that we honestly... I'll touch on that as we approach the end of this discussion, because... I hate to admit it, but I liked this movie, and I feel like that's the most important thing that I can say. But another thing that I have to admit is that I thoroughly enjoyed the first one more. And I feel like the first one executed whatever it was seeking to execute better than this one did. This one is a conclusion. It is satisfying. It's not the end of the world. But the first one was a bit better. The first one was a little more memorable. I remembered, the leper. I'm remembering the flautist with the distorted face. And I really, really liked it for what it brought to the table in the way of like creepy, weird imagery. There's a scene where he's climbing out of a fridge and he's contorting himself. A lot of these things stay with me. I just saw It Chapter 2. And a lot of it's, kind of out of my mind. You know what I mean? And that's not, it could just be me, but it's something. So, the nonsense with Bev aside, the cinematography not being as great as the first one aside, I loved Bill Hader in this movie. When I watched It Chapter 1 with Dia, she was thoroughly annoyed with Glasses Kid in the first movie, because the Glasses Kid's supposed to be a comedian. And as he grows up into Bill Hader, he is a comedian. And I don't think that the movie could have made a smarter decision than to cast Bill Hader, who is a genuine, like, real-life comedian. Because he was amusing, it was funny, and the funny thing is, when Dia and I talked about this kid in the movie, and she would tell me that she didn't like him, I said that I think his role is being masterfully executed now, even if it's accidental. And what I meant by that is that this kid is believable to me because he's not funny. He's annoying. And that's what kids are. They're annoying. I feel like in the book, a kid may be written to be funny to an adult, to like the audience member that's reading the book. But in this film adaptation, if you want to write a believable kid, make him not shut up. You know what I mean? Make him a nuisance. Make him somebody you want to slap, because that's what real kids are like. And that was why he was so believable in It Chapter 1 for me. But now in It Chapter 2 that he's an adult, because it's 27 years later, and he's a comedian, this dude may not be able to be funny, but he can be funny. Do you know what I mean? Like, when I say that, I mean, some people can't get you to laugh with them, but they can get you to laugh at them. And when this dude is initially introduced and goes out on stage, he starts off with a joke about like how he masturbates and shit like that. It's that kind of self-deprecating humor that makes it so that his character probably works better than any of the other dudes in the whole freaking movie for me. And there's a scene where they're at like a dinner when they all meet up for the Asian thing, and I think it's one of the better scenes in the whole movie. If it weren't for this other scene with an old lady, who is Pennywise's daughter, it would be one of my favorite scenes in the movie, and it's not a horror scene, at least not in the beginning. Do you get what I'm saying? And then, I don't know. I just have to say that it's crazy, because McAvoy's really talented. We all know that. I'm sure most people have seen Split. I'm sure people have seen him in X-Men and every other, he going as far back as fucking, what's that movie where, was it called Wanted? Where he's in it with Angelina Jolie and he bends a bullet and it's some bullshit like that. Yeah, y'all ain't old enough for that. But, this guy's talented. But I really enjoyed the black dude who reminded me of a young Denzel Washington. And I really enjoyed Bill Hader, who made the funny scenes. And a lot of funny scenes in the movie, they fall flat, boy. A lot of funny scenes in the movie aren't funny. It's just supposed to be funny. But Bill Hader made some of these scenes really hilarious. When he got the call from, the black dude saying, oh, y'all got to come back to the city, Bill Hader just runs out and throws up. That's my dude's introduction into this whole film. And I couldn't help but laugh, because it's just like, I know that we're kind of being reintroduced to these characters because we've seen them again, but this is the first time we're seeing your character on screen and they're vomiting. That's like their introduction. I loved it. So it works for me. His character was just like the highlight of the whole movie for me. And I don't know. There are a lot of weird and silly things going on in the movie, but I appreciated it overall. And I'm glad Bill Hader, was there. What do you have to say?
I really liked the dinner scene, because it really shows that whoever wrote those interactions with the character, like in between the characters, kind of like the way that you praised James Gunn with how all the characters in Guardians of the Galaxy, when they interact with each other, it's amazing. It's great. So I feel like that's kind of what the writer here for whenever all of the characters were interacting with each other really shined. Like, it was good. It was very, very good. Of course, when they had to do their own separate little side quests, they were still good and enjoyable on them by themselves. But I feel like the movie was the most amazing when all of them worked together and they were able to play off of each other. Like, it really goes to show how good the writing was, particularly when it came to dialogue with the characters.
I found the narrative fairly acceptable, you know. I don't think that this is a movie that I give too much of a shit about not fulfilling, you know, some kind of, like, you know what I mean? If it was about scratching an itch, I feel like it scratched it in every department. Wasn't, you know, it wasn't too bad. It wasn't so bad that it was noticeably bad. I will say that, as far as, like, subtle things going on, I wanted more. This is an interesting scene because it's a scene where Bill Hader's character encounters Pennywise. And I enjoy the douchebags in the background more than I do Pennywise. Because if it's a full-on hallucination, take advantage of the entire scene. Do you know what I mean? What I also enjoy is when, like, the hallucinations are being in clash with the real world. And that happens at the dinner scene. Where, you know, at one point, the black guy's got a chair and he's banging on the table. His name's Isaiah. And he's banging on the table. And, like, one of the waitresses comes over and she's like, is everything okay? And they're just, you know, standing around. You know, there's nothing going on. At least it was in their minds, and now it stopped. It's just ridiculous. And that's played for laughs, but it's still, you know, a fun little piece. That being said, man.
Want to talk about the scares or scenes that were supposed to be, like, super tense and scary and stuff?
No effect on me in this movie. They were good. I liked them. But, again, the first one just had... It had some underlying things. And I can't talk enough about the old lady scene. I don't know what I'm supposed to say there.
Well, let me name some of the scenes and get your reaction to them. Okay, so when they're in the house and Stanley's in the fridge and his head pops off and it becomes, like, a head with, like, spider legs.
The spider leg head didn't really do it for me. I liked it when it was a dismembered head. I love it when his head comes to life. It's Stanley's head. You know, Stanley's dead. He didn't make it. You know, it's a spoiler review, so that's one of the coolest parts of the movie is that one of them, you know, was like, no. When it came time for all of them to come back, one of them said no. And I love that. That's believable. And what's even more believable for me is that it's the one who had the closest call back then. You know, he felt like they abandoned him. And even though he narrowly escaped, that's something I'm sure my man has had nightmares about, and it didn't even need to be said. As soon as he got the call, he slit his wrist and died in the bathtub. And that's that. And what makes the whole movie, like, chilling and sad and kind of, like, feely, like filling you with feels at the end, is that you get a note from him that was kind of like a suicide note. But, you know, it ties everything up in a nice little bow at the end, and it works, you know? I thought, like, I told Dee I thought I was watching a Spielberg movie because of how schmaltzy it got at the end, and how it's just like, you know, you gotta take what you have and hold on to it while you have it and all this bullshit, you know what I mean? But, you know, I love that they had forgotten, because a lot of this shit wouldn't work unless they'd forgotten, considering you can't be afraid. And if you were to remember that, then this would be pretty simple. Remember, one of the things that pissed me off about that scene, and I'll be honest with you, is that they clearly had him in a weakened state when they knifed him in the head. And then they threw him out of the room. And I was like, wait a minute. Don't you need him to just end all of this? Now you go over there and get stronger and try again. That's how he's been playing with him. I remember when they grabbed James McAvoy's character into the sewer and then just let him go. I was like, what are you doing, dude?
It was a bunch of little hands.
It's a bunch of little, you can't get him with little hands, you know what I mean? If I should have made one of those hands human-sized hands. McAvoy, like I said in this, he's a wonderful actor. This role did not demand much of him. They were like, hey, just be one of these guys and run around and be like, hey, you. And
I mean, he had to pretend he had a stutter. I quite enjoyed it.
My favorite scene in this movie with McAvoy is where he's shaking the hell out of this little boy. You're gonna see somebody else's review where they got a gif of McAvoy just shaking this little boy in the middle. Just, you listen to me if you care and you understand. Tell me you understand. You gotta get out of this town.
That's it.
It goes on just a little bit longer than you think would make sense, and it's funny because of it. It's genuinely funny. It's just like, if you're gonna shake a kid, think about it. Unless that's your kid, you're not going to get away with that for more than like, kid, listen to me. That's it. But instead of that, it was like, you got to get out of here. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? You need to go. Tell me. You're going to get your parents. You're going to make them understand. They need to get out of here. Make up an excuse, whatever it needs to be. And I'm like, dude, stop shaking this kid. It was really like me, like I was like turning a fraction with each second going by. That was good stuff.
That was the second adult to shake him in the movie. The first one was Richie in the restaurant when he first introduced the little boy character. He's like, you fucker, I'm not scared of you, and it's like, no, he's real. Let me tell you
something about the first movie. The first movie to me had subtlety, okay? Where, they would say things and they would do things where you'd have to think back and think like, damn, that was kind of rude. When they first introduced Beverly, she's in a bathroom stall in chapter 1, and a girl rolls in and is like, is it just you in there? Or are you in there with a lot of other men? You know what I mean? You're such a slut and all of this. She's 15 years old. She's supposed to be a slut. Like, whatever. I know girls are just mean and that's it, right? In this movie, dude, it seemed like Pennywise was being a mean one. Okay? We got this dude that just got beat up because, people were homophobic and then thrown off a bridge and Pennywise killed him first. We get a flashback which technically happened in the first movie, but we're seeing it in this movie where the fat kid's getting all this crap, like Pennywise impersonates the girl and is like, you think anybody kiss your fat ass? Fatty, you're gonna die alone. Who would kiss a fat bastard?
I was gonna talk about it a little bit later, but oh my gosh, when they're confronting their fears or they're just having to deal with like personal situations by themselves and they have to get themselves out of it. Ben's when he's like slowly sinking in the old clubhouse, and
that one was my life.
You did push-ups and you did all this.
He said,
but you're still a fat kid.
This dude is a grown man that is nice and fit and attractive.
Very attractive.
And here comes Pennywise leaning over him, going, deep down, you're still just a fat kid. You're gonna die alone. And I'm like, damn, Pennywise.
He's like, you did all those push-ups and all those workouts and you got all nice,
those push-ups won't hide that you're just a fat kid in there. I'm like, what are you talking about? What does that mean?
Pennywise the bully.
Jesus Christ, he was really a bully in this one. So let's talk, this is my favorite, okay? I'm not gonna lie to you. Because it's so shit, and not shit in a bad way, shit where I was literally thinking to myself, I would watch a movie with this, okay? If you guys watched It Chapter 1, there's a portion where a bully, gets kind of corrupted by Pennywise and is made to kill his father and then is made to go after the kids, okay? He shows up in this one. He's in the loony bin, but then he sees a red balloon outside. Balloon bursts, and it's the animated corpse of one of his
old friends that died.
Dia, the animated corpse returns the knife that he used to kill his dad and, you know, his weapon of choice to go after those kids.
He also
If this were a hallucination and Pennywise made it so that that knife just floated its way back to the bully, okay. But the bully's friend, the animated corpse, ends up driving the car for the bully that was in the loony bin to get around and kill the now adult losers.
He's the chauffeur.
So it's like bully and corpse.
The movie.
And I'm thinking, I'd watch this stupid ass movie. And there's a scene where the bully gets to where the new kids are at, and he stabs one of them in the cheek. And then the guy takes it out of his cheek and stabs the bully over and over. And I'm just thinking to myself, if the corpse buddy is dead, what's stopping this dude from, when he's dead, just keeping going after them as well?
Because the corpse bully
he wasn't real?
No, he's only like a puppet.
Okay, he can only drive after he gives him the knife.
Yes, he's only the chauffeur. When the other guy dies, he just dies.
Look, if there were a plot hole, it would be that guy's just like, oh man, without my bully, I can't exist. And then he just flew. I was thinking because they inevitably kill the bully by axing him in the back of the head. And I'm thinking to myself, where's the chauffeur at? You know what I mean? Even if they legitimately killed him and there's no reanimating this guy, you know, why? And if that can genuinely happen, why aren't there just armies of animated corpses going after the
adults?
Again, not a thing that we need to think too hard about. The scene of my life, the scene of the movie, is when older Beverly goes back to the home where she grew up in, and she finds an old lady there. And the old lady is apparently the daughter of Pennywise.
I think they just he kind of gave her like a fake backstory, because obviously Pennywise isn't human. He's not mortal.
Yeah. I love it. Apparently, I love it.
Not apparently, he isn't.
No, I know he isn't. You know, what I'm saying is when she goes, she meets what appears or is apparently the daughter of Pennywise. All of this is just fiction. You know what I mean?
I love the lady.
But this lady... This could be YouTube tonight. YouTube stream has come undone. What the hell? Boy, this is chopped to all kingdom come, boy. I don't know what to say, but the problem is most certainly with YouTube.
Okay, well, at least we're back on.
For now. Holy shit. Let me wrap it up because... You know, I don't know how many times we can get away with even figuring this out. You know? Look, that being said, my favorite of the Udo says this is going to be a weird video to upload afterwards. I'll cut it, man. I will cut it and then see what's up. I'll like recut it and put it up after. You guys are the real heroes for tolerating this, but again, spoilers, but my favorite scene of the movie is this old woman who is really just a manifestation of Pennywise, and he is portraying her as his daughter, and how Pennywise, came to this country with $14 and put on this show. Huh?
Daughters. Or was it dollars?
It was dollars, and didn't ask anybody for... He was saying he came with only $14 and never asked anybody for anything, unlike people looking for a handout these days.
Damn.
And then you can see her in the background of one of the shots, just dancing naked across the screen. She,
doing a little jig.
It's wild. It's a wild little scene. But when she transforms, she looks straight up like a monster out of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. And I saw that movie recently with Dia, and I hated it. Except for one monster, which I really love, which was the one that they're throwing on all over the, marketing material stuff, because it's really good.
Because it's the best one.
It's the best monster.
They're like, let's throw things at people that we're sure we're going to like.
Look.
I see the comment that I made it onto your list of things to talk about. Can I talk about it? Because it made me laugh.
What? Yeah, continue.
Okay, so it's like right towards the end where they have to go fight Pennywise, and they're going to pretty much try to put him into like this Native American container. And in order to get to his lair, essentially, because they haven't been there yet, but somehow Mike, who I have a very, very big issue with, as far as the way that they wrote him in this movie and in the last movie, they have to climb down into the lair, this hole, and the thing that I turned to say to Kyle was, wow, good thing they all took them rock climbing lessons before coming here, because there was no ladder. Ladder. There was no ladder, no rope, no nothing like that. They were literally rock climbing down into this pit to go to his hideout.
And the comedy is,
like,
maybe
what?
This is an American thing, Maybe this is an American thing. But unless you're very much a gym rat, and I'm not talking about gym twice a week, nigga. I'm talking about gym every day. You do not have a lot of core strength. Core and upper body strength, dude. You're not scaling no fucking rock wall. That's the bottom line. It's as simple as that. And in a movie situation, okay, maybe we can buy 1, 2 people, just happen to be the type that can support themselves, A lot of people, if you threw them and they were hanging onto the edge of a cliff, they would not be able to pull themselves up. It is as simple as that, dude. Without the right footing, they'd be screwed. So, yeah, I'm willing to believe that they had footing as they were descending into this thing, and that 2 of them or 3 of them, had what it took to just get down. But a girl? That's been, from what the movie would want us to understand, has just been kind of living with this guy like she's the wife. 4 dudes? 5 dudes? You know what I mean? It's just a little silly. And
the only one that's believable is Bet.
Again, it's for the sake of the movie, so I ain't mad about it. But it was just kind of fun, my dude. The only thing that I think is left for me to talk about is the finale of the movie, which, and I hate to keep barking up the same tree with this, but it was way less satisfying than the first one, because you really get like a cohesive feeling and understanding of the bond that these kids in the first one have because of this life-threatening event that is, just occurring within this town. The things that they're facing, they're not just kind of random. They're manifestations of their personal fears. So it's like personal when we're coming from the perspective of all of these kids, when we're seeing that their life is already kind of hellish and that this is just rude icing on top of that cake. It just works. The leper with the kid who, his mother has raised him believing that, everything's going to get him. The manifestation of guilt from Bill, who feels that it's his fault that he decided that he didn't want to play with his brother on a rainy day, and then he ended up getting killed by a monster in a gutter. It was just personal, and they're overcoming it at the end. It was really satisfying to see this change, specifically in the dude who, was chicken shit because his mother raised him that way. I don't know. I'm not getting consistent people going, oh, something's wrong on my streams. So I don't know if it's YouTube or if it's OBS causing all of that. And I don't know what to say. I apologize. At the end of this movie, they obviously overcome the douche, but it's kind of like shrug worthy. And I think one of the most jarring things about the whole movie is like how epileptic it needs to be. And I can tell that they're trying to hide you getting too good a look at the monster while he's in his like big final phase mode. But I'll tell you what. In the beginning of the movie, we got warnings that there's like some photosensitive epileptic shit going on in this movie. And if you have sensitivity to that, you need to be careful and not watch it. But I didn't think it would be as insane and long lasting as it was. Because Dia's here with me. There's a scene where James McAvoy goes into the carnival, into a funhouse mirror type maze, as he's trying to save this little kid that Pennywise is after. Spoiler alert, the kid fucking dies and he doesn't reach him in time, The same kid that he was shaking in the middle of the street for an hour,
And the same kid that was being shouted by Richie in the restaurant.
That was so funny. Because Bill Hader's like, fuck you, man. To this
I'm not
little
scared
kid.
of you.
Oh, God. Just great. It works. It works. Love Bill Hader in this movie, man. So good. But, the entirety of the mirror scene, straight strobe light action, dude. We're in the theater like, damn, you know what I mean? We're not photosensitive, but god damn. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? When I thought back on that scene, I thought, at the very least, it can be removed from the movie without extreme detriment to the plot as a whole. We can just have that boy show up in the scene in the Asian, dinner, and then not have him in the scene where McAvoy is going down the street. No shaking, no, I'm going to go to the fair, you should chase me, bullshit, blah, blah, blah. But, if it wasn't bad enough, all of the lights shining and going nuts, at the end of the movie, during the finale, where they are fighting Pennywise in his final form, it is strobe light city again. And it's not like, you think to yourself like, 5 seconds, 10 seconds? Boy, it was a solid about 30 to 40 seconds. I'm just like, and you're like, God, okay, man.
You can kind of give it a pass in the Hall of Mirrors, House of Mirrors.
Oh, for sure.
Because it's supposed to be disorienting to
whoever's in there.
Whoever's in there. So, you're like, okay, it's possible, whatever. It's supposed to not only be kind of disorienting to him, but it's also supposed to be disorienting to us. But when they're fighting Pennywise, it's like, is this supposed to be disorienting for everybody here? Because it shouldn't be. This is crazy and this is nauseating at points. Like, this can't be good. This is going to give somebody epilepsy who didn't have epilepsy until today.
Linda's asking, in your opinion, would these movies induce a lifelong fear of clowns? Not at all, you know?
Like the old version did.
The old one didn't have that effect on me at all.
Exactly. On you.
Okay, well, a lot of people are very impressionable, so seeing certain things in movies might fuck them up. But the thing is, I'm no more afraid of clowns than any other variation of a monster that I see in a movie that's used to scary effect. Like, you know, I could see spiders used as like a scary gonna get you monster in every movie, and it's not gonna make me scared of spiders. I would say that if I were to look at the first one and go, oh, Pennywise as a clown is creepy, and say, was he creepier in that than he is in this? Not particularly, you know? I feel like Pennywise as a demon was thoroughly thwarted in the first one when you recognize that he feasts on your fear and he is only as scary as he is to you. You know, like there's a choice in it.
As you let him to be, yeah.
Yeah, and, you know, the only reason the second movie works is because it's established that they have completely and thoroughly forgotten many of the events of their childhood. So as they're remembering, you know, we got to make him small. We got to reduce him, and then we can beat him. And it makes Pennywise deflate rather poetically like a balloon. And that's the end of that. It's a satisfying movie. Again, the only things that I would say that bring the movie down are things that the first movie fucked it over with. You know what I mean? The first movie raised a bar that the second movie is struggling just a little bit to jump over. And I don't think the visuals, as far as the scares and the disorienting creepy shit, was as good. I don't think the cinematography is as good, but I still think it's a good movie. That I really enjoyed Bill Hader's performance. I really enjoyed this scene that I'm holding on with the old lady, and I enjoyed a kid being in our theater. So with every F-bomb, with every bit of blood, and with every, homo kiss that, the parents would have to go, oh, jeez. But, I don't think these homo parents, I don't think these kids care, and I don't think the parents care either. Here's a scene from the first movie when, the boy goes to the library, and there is a woman in the background of a scene just smiling at him, out of frame. Or not out of frame, but out of focus. And there's no resolution to it. Shit like that I died for in the first movie. And I wanted there to be more of it in this movie. There certainly was not. Stuff like this I'm really about. In the first movie, there's just a lady back there smiling. And it kills me, but that's that. Ain't gonna get that shit in this movie sometime. And I'm alright with it.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to answer both questions of Linda. Which the first one was, about, clowns being as scary in this one as it was in the first one. If the first one scared you, then this one is going to be worse. So don't watch this one if you're afraid of clowns. And the second question that she asked is, my main problem is how do you forget how to defeat it? Even if you forget damn near everything else, how do you forget that? The thing is, in the first one, they beat him into submission so that he goes to sleep faster, and he doesn't try to take no other kid beforehand. And that's that. Like, they don't defeat him in the first movie, or in the first portion of, even the old one when they're kids. They don't defeat him. They just beat him into submission.
What she's asking though is how they forget the way to overwhelm him.
Because they didn't know it to begin with.
No, sweetie, they do know it.
She means defeat it, and she makes it sound like they knew how to.
I know,
defeat him
but
in the first one,
what I believe she's asking right now is, in the first movie, all the kids understand. He's only as powerful as we allow him to be because he feeds on our fear. So if we're not afraid, we can overcome him. We can overwhelm him. If we're not afraid, he will starve. That's what they have forgotten. And I think that's what she's asking. How do you forget something like that? How do you forget that he feeds on your fear? So the answer to that question is completely narrative. It's completely contrived, and it's completely necessary. And the answer might as well be 2 words: because plot. Okay? It Chapter 2 forces half of its characters to forget everything. And that's why they have to basically come to that realization once again in the second movie. And they make it seem, that like, oh, since it happens every 27 years, when people leave the town, they forget everything that happens in the town, so that, this creature is capable of, this entity is capable of purging itself from people's minds and purging the events that happened in this town from people's minds. Maybe as a way of protecting itself, as like a defense mechanism, but in reality, it's just like the dude, the black guy who stayed in the town the whole time. It seems that he can remember a majority of things, but even he doesn't seem to be able to remember, hey, no, dude, we need to make sure that he doesn't think that we're afraid. But they come to the realization almost immediately when they step back into the house, because after that kid's head rolls out of the fridge, becomes a spider thing, starts attacking one of them, and then one of them freezes up and does nothing for the majority of the encounter. And when all the other people overwhelm the spider head thing and they throw it from the room, James McAvoy's character turns to him and says, listen, dude, it feeds off of your fear. So from that point, they should have really understood it. And I think they did, but they were still kind of running around and, avoiding it. I get it. But, they really should have tried to been selling the idea that they're not afraid of it and blah, blah, blah. Another thing I really love is like, and I released this, of course, like, okay, let me just say it. There's a portion where, their fears manifest and she's back in a life-sized bathroom stall. And he's, sinking. This is when, Pennywise comes and leans over and is like, you listen to me, you fat little turd. Even though he's not fat anymore. They start screaming for each other. And when she kicks open the door, they're like right next to each other. And she can just reach in and, as a woman, pull this man out of dirt. That he's up to his face. You try pulling anybody out of dirt. You know what I mean? But... I get it. It wasn't real, so I'm not bent out of shape about it.
I'm surprised you didn't mention the moment in when she's still in the stall, and like when the stall like slightly opens and then she closes it again and opens and closes and opens and closes. It goes through characters that were, fucking horrible, like the creepy pharmacist, the bully girl, and the dad.
Yeah.
You forgot the best
I didn't forget the Here's Johnny part, but I don't know. I feel like even in a review of this where I'm spoiling it, I wouldn't want to review that, because if somebody else was crazy about Stephen King works and they hadn't seen this yet and they wanted to go see it, I'd like that. That was ridiculous. That was ridiculous, and I loved it. I'll tell you what I did. You asked me specifically what I thought would ruin this movie that I may or may not have expected to be in it. And I'll tell you one thing I did expect. There is an upcoming sequel to The Shining called Dr. Sleep. And Ewan McGregor plays a character in that movie. And if Ewan McGregor showed up in this movie, it would have ruined it for me. And I would have loved it. But it would have ruined it. Like a wholesale ruined this fucking movie for me. That shit would have been maximal hilarious. It's me, Ewan McGregor, and you children, you have The Shining. What? You're a wizard, children.
Well, it wouldn't have made sense canonically anyway.
Good. But it still would have been hilarious. And I literally would not be able to stop myself from yelling in the theater, oh my god, it's the Stephen King cinematic universe.
I mean, I would absolutely love for them to connect it to The Shining.
Come on. Space Turtle.
Yeah. I'm telling you, canonically.
How did the movie resist not having like a clown at the end be all like, oh, I'm not dead yet. Oh, some crap.
Well, because it's dead.
Well,
okay, they killed it.
Well, I'm glad that a franchise can fucking end itself in this day and age. And that's what I hope the most, that this is well and properly done. Because they can't make it, they can't just do it again.
I mean, the way that they kind of, were like, there's gonna be another one, is at the end it said, It, Chapter 1, at the very end. So it's like, oh, there's going to be another one. Because everyone was very confused at the fact that it was just kids. And it's like, where are the adults?
Who is everyone? People should have known that,
Because
this doesn't conclude until they grow.
No, of course, but it was like they thought that it was just going to be them as kids and them as adults. Like it would have just been the chapter 1 and chapter 2 combined into one movie. Is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, well I'm glad that they didn't bloat a movie by trying to incorporate all that garbage.
We would have had to sit like for 6 hours just to be able to finish that movie. Too long. Too long. This isn't Lord of the Rings.
Well, guys, that was that movie. I enjoyed it enough for you to go see it. I give it a glowing recommendation. There's not going to be a kid in your theater, most likely, for you to get the satisfaction of, like, rubbing it in the parent's face for every, swear word that they hear. But at the end of the day, that's not even, like, a happy thing, That kid's getting exposed to just gratuitous nonsense that perhaps a parent should know better than to expose them to, but the world we live in is like a crazy and dark place. It's a fun movie. I really enjoyed Bill Hader's portions. I thought it was kind of silly. I loved the zombie driving him around. That felt like something straight out of another movie. And, we'll give you more reviews from stuff we watch in the future. And I should probably cut these together since YouTube lost its mind and had to split it up so hard. So, we'll go from there. Love ya. Catch you soon. Stay out of trouble. Bye, Linda. And bye, Uroburos. Wait, who else is here? Selena. Sayano. Vox Romer. Yeah, nice. Later, guys.